Well, welcome everyone. It is St. Patrick's Day of the year 2021. Anno Domini to you Irish Catholics out there. My name is Hank Cramer, and I'm recording a St. Patrick's Day concert for you here. I'll explain that in just a moment. I'm in my happy space. I'm at David Lang's studio in Edgewood, Washington, where I've been recording albums and videos for 20 years now. And David Lang is behind the audio console, and his son Benjamin Lang is shooting the video for us. Anyway, it is the year 2021, and for the last 28 years, I've been playing at the Galway Bay Pub in Ocean Shores for St. Patrick's Day and other events. But of course, we're in the era of COVID, and the Galway Bay Pub is not open for public music performance at the moment. So the owners of the pub have asked their favorite Irish musicians to get together and shoot some videos so they can stream some music for St. Patrick's Day. And that's what it's all about. I'm going to sing a song called The Wild Colonial Boy. That's what I'll open with. There's a little town in County Kerry in Ireland called Castlemaine. And that was the hometown of a very wild fella named Jack Duggan. He got in quite a bit of trouble in Ireland and was transported off to Australia. Back in the old days, that was the equivalent of a life sentence for a violent criminal. And young Jack Duggan, he was so violent that he scared the Australians. And it's very difficult to scare the Australians, but he managed it. So there's this ballad about his life out there in the outback. It's called The Wild Colonial Boy. Important thing for you to know if you're a tourist. If you ever go to Ireland and you come to Castlemaine, tiny little village in County Kerry, go into Jack Duggan's pub. And your first time in there, if you can stand up and sing this song, you get your first pint of Guinness for free. That's the truth. I did it. You may not return the next day and try the same trick again. No, after that, you're a paying customer. But the very first time in, learn this song about Jack Duggan. You can go into Jack Duggan's pub and get a free pint. The song goes like this. There was a wild colonial boy, Jack Duggan was his name. He was born and raised in Ireland, in the town of Castlemaine. He was his father's only son, his mother's pride and joy. And dearly did his parents love that wild colonial boy. At the early age of 16 years, Jack left his native home and to Australia's sunny shore he was inclined to roam. He robbed the rich, he helped the poor. They all say that. He shot Judge McAvoy. A terror to Australia was that wild colonial boy. One morning on the prairie, as Jack he rode along, he was listening to the kookaburra singing a cheerful song. Up rode a band of troopers, Kelly, Davis, and Fitzroy. They had all set out to capture him, that wild colonial boy. Surrender now, Jack Duggan, for you see, we're 3-1. Surrender in the Queen's high name, you're a plundering highwayman. Jack drew 2 pistols from his belt, and he proudly waved them high. I'll fight, but I'll not surrender, said that wild colonial boy. He fired a shot at Kelly that brought him to the ground. Then he turned round to Davis and they exchanged 2 mortal rounds. A bullet through his heart he lay, still firing at Fitzroy. And that's the way they captured him, that wild colonial boy. Up on ahead through his heart he lay, still firing not Fitzroy. And that's the way they captured him, that wild colonial boy. There you have it, the true story of Jack Duggan, the wild colonial boy, a native of Castlemaine in the southwest corner of Ireland. I'm going to switch guitars here just a moment. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Galway Bay Pub. If you don't know the Galway Bay Pub, it's a fine restaurant. They're wonderful people, all located in Ocean Shores, Washington. They opened in the summer of 1993, and that's when I played my first gig there at the Galway Bay Irish Pub. Had a partner named Steve Gouda back in those days who played the banjo, played the hammered dulcimer, and if I had known at the time that I was going to be playing there for another 28 years, I would have asked the owner, Liam Gibbon, for some sort of retirement plan at the end of this. I did not think to ask for that at the beginning. Anyway, it's a wonderful, wonderful place. If you don't know Ocean Shores, it's about an hour straight west of Olympia. They serve fine food. They serve fine beverages imported from Ireland and Scotland and other fine places around. I love the staff out there. They're like family to me. Liam Gibbon and his wife Linda, who own the place. Chris Turcott, who's run the gift shop there for many years. And of course, the bartenders are high on my list. Stefan Rowland and Bill Kirkham and the rest of the staff out there. You are wonderful folks. It's my pleasure to be singing for you for St. Patrick's Day, even if we're doing it in a virtual way. This is a song about County Galway and moonshine whiskey that's distilled out there. They call it the Railroad Mountain Dew. One of the things you have to do, if you're home listening right now, you have to imagine yourself in a virtual Irish pub. That means first you need to go get yourself an adult beverage, a libation of some sort. I suggest Guinness or perhaps a pint of Harp or perhaps some Jameson. There's maybe Tullamore Dew. There's a lot of good stuff. The other thing is you have to sing along on these songs. They're intended to be sing-along songs. And this one is called the Railroad Mountain Dew. It's about moonshine. It has a very simple chorus that goes like this. You got it? That's your part. Let's give it a try. Let grasses grow and waters flow in a free and easy way. But give me enough of the railroad stuff that's made near Galway Bay. And policemen all from Donegal, from Sligo and Leitrim too, we'll give them the slip and we'll take a sip of the Railroad Mountain Dew. Get your tongue limber. At the foot of the hill there's a neat little still where the smoke curls up to the sky. By the smoke and the smell you can plainly tell there's bewitching brewing there, boy. It fills the air with odor rare to bewitch both me and you. When home you stroll, you can take a bowl or a bucket of the Mountain Dew. Are you getting good at that yet? Getting your tongue loosened up? Let's try it one more time. Now learned men who use the pen have wrote your praises high. The sweet poteen from Ireland green, distilled from wheat and rye. Throw away your pills to cure all ills of pagan or Christian or Jew. Take off your coat and grease your throat with the rare old Mountain Dew. Nice job there singing at home. We have actually a two-way connection to find out if you're singing along or not. I wish we were all in the pub together. That should open up soon. We're hoping we'll open up soon to have live music, and we're definitely counting on the month of October. We have an Irish music festival there, usually the third week of October each year, and Liam has 30 to 35 bands that come in, some of them from the United States, some of them touring from Ireland. We have a grand old time. It runs for a week. It's a heck of a lot of fun. I failed to mention Chris Doyle, the manager at the pub. Chris is up to his neck in that as well. So I hope you'll grab your calendar and put down the third week of October. Make a note to yourself to go to Ocean Shores, hang out for a whole week, and enjoy fine music, fine dining, and fine beverages there at the Galway Bay Irish Pub. Let me look down at the list and see what the next song is after this. Oh, I'm going to sing you something pretty. I'll keep this guitar for it. Because it's the Galway Bay Irish Pub, I, of course, will sing a number of songs referring to County Galway in Ireland. It's one of 26 counties in the Republic of Ireland. And in my personal opinion, it's in a three-way tie with Mayo and Kerry for the most beautiful place in Ireland. But this is a song called The Galway Shawl. It's a love song. Before I sing it to you, I should explain to you what a Galway shawl is. Back in the old days in Ireland, when they could not afford expensive jewelry, gold and diamonds and things like that, when a young woman was engaged or perhaps promised to someone by her father, she wore this garment she wore a shawl, but it was called the Galway shawl. It was a very special design. And when you saw a young woman wearing the Galway shawl, it meant she was taken. She was pledged to be married to someone else. So in the song, put yourself in this position. This young man sees the most beautiful girl that he's ever seen, and he walks down the country road with her talking, and she takes him home to meet her parents, but the whole time she's wearing a Galway shawl. He falls in love with her. Apparently she falls in love with him, but the shawl is there, and her parents are watching, so there's not much hope for this poor young man. In Arranmore, in the county Galway, one pleasant evening in the month of May, I met a maiden. She was fair and handsome, and sure her beauty took my breath away. She wore no jewels, no costly diamonds, no paint, no powder, no, none at all. She wore a bonnet with a ribbon on it, and around her shoulders was the Galway shawl. We started walking, she started talking, and soon her cottage came into view. She said, "Come in, sir, and meet my father, and for to please him, play the foggy dew." She sat me down by the kitchen fire. I could see her father. He was 6 feet tall, and soon her mother had the kettle singing. All I could think of was that Galway shawl. She wore no jewels, no costly diamonds, no paint, no powder, no, none at all. She wore a bonnet with a ribbon on it, and around her shoulders was the Galway shawl. I played the blackbird, a stack of barley, Rodney's Glory, and the foggy dew. She sang each note like an Irish linnet, and the tears they flowed from her eyes of blue. 'Twas early, early, all in the morning, I took the road for old Donegal. She said, "Goodbye, sir." She cried and kissed me, and my heart remains with the Galway shawl. She wore no jewels, no costly diamonds, no paint, no powder, no none at all. She wore a bonnet with a ribbon on it, and around her shoulders was the Galway shawl. A broken-hearted love song, if ever there was one. He didn't have a chance to start with, and then I failed to mention he was a musician, so she must have known he had no money whatsoever being a musician. And that's what all that stuff about the blackbird and the stack of barley and the foggy dew, those were all tunes that he was playing on his fiddle or his whistle, whatever he was carrying along with him. Well, let's see here. Got a song on my list here I've been singing for quite some time. This is a song called Nancy Whiskey. And it is an allegory. In the song, the fellow falls in love with a gal named Nancy Whiskey. Be aware, she is not an actual flesh and blood woman. She is a metaphor or an allegory for the dangers of being attracted by whiskey and falling into whiskey's charms and not being able to save yourself. I mention that because sometimes I sing this song and there are drunken young men in the pub who want her phone number. And I say, no, you don't want her phone number. She's an allegory. Little piece of trivia for you to know. If you're going to drink whiskey and you're going to hang out in pubs, one of the ways you tell the Scots from the Irish, and this is the truth, you may think I'm pulling your leg. Irish spell the word whiskey with an E in it, and Scots spell whiskey without an E in it. That's the truth. Go ahead and look it up. Anyway, depending on whether you spell this with an E or without an E, it could be a Scottish song or an Irish song. But since it mentions a Scottish town in the song, I'm thinking it's spelled without an E. It goes like this. The chorus is whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh. Nancy is the devil, and the devil is Nancy. Nancy whiskey, wherever I go. That's the chorus. Did you get it? Well, you can play this back on your TV a couple of times so you got it. It goes like this. I'm a weaver, a cotton weaver. I am a rash and a roving blade, and I've got silver in my pockets, and I follow the roving trade. Here we go. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh, Nancy's the devil. Nancy is the devil, and the devil is Nancy. Nancy whiskey, wherever I go. As I strolled out through Glasgow City, Nancy whiskey I chanced to spy, and I walked in, sat down beside her. Long years with her I did abide. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh. Nancy is the devil, and the devil is Nancy. Nancy whiskey, wherever I go. Think you got the chorus down now? You better have it next time we come around. The more I kissed her, the more I loved her. The more I kissed her, the more she smiled, till I forgot my father's teaching. Nancy soon had me beguiled. Whiskey, 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 Nancy whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh, Nancy's the devil. Nancy is the devil, and the devil is Nancy. Nancy whiskey, wherever I go. So I'm going back to the Carlton weaving. I'll surely make those shuttles fly, for I made more at the Carlton weaving than ever I did in this roving way. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh. Nancy is the devil, and the devil is Nancy. Nancy whiskey, wherever I go. Come all you weavers, you Carlton weavers. Come all you weavers, wherever you be. beware of a whiskey, of Nancy whiskey. She'll run you like she ruined me. Oh, whiskey, whiskey, Nancy whiskey. Oh, whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, oh. Nancy is a devil, and the devil is Nancy. Nancy whiskey, wherever I go. Nancy whiskey, wherever I go. Nancy whiskey, wherever I go. Thank you much. That's a song called Nancy Whiskey. I'll tell you a little bit about it. You're watching this show, so you have to put up with Hank, and I do like to talk about the music from time to time. When I first learned that song, the chorus, the original chorus, the traditional chorus, very, very short. Whiskey, whiskey, Nancy whiskey, 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 Nancy O. And that's all there is to it. And then 25 years ago, I was in a pub in Denver, and the finest Celtic balladeer that I ever met in America, a black man named Walt Conley, was singing that song in the pub. And Walt Conley had quite a background. He opened up a folk club in Denver back in the 1950s when there were no folk clubs. And he booked a couple of local acts that he didn't know if they were going to go anywhere or not, but he booked a couple of local acts into his pub there in Denver in the late 1950s. One of them was a gal named Judy something. Oh, Judy Collins played in Walt Conley's pub. And then there were a couple of fellows who played some music, and they were comedians, and they were brothers. I think they were called the Smothers Brothers. Anyway, Walt Conley gave a start to them in his pub, and in the 1980s, I met him in an Irish pub, and he sang that long chorus. And I said, Walt, I've never heard that before. Where did you find that? And he said, I wrote it. And he said, you know, the chorus is so short that just when you get the audience singing along, suddenly the chorus is over. So he lengthened it to whiskey, whiskey, Nancy whiskey, 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 Nancy O. He added, Nancy is the devil, and the devil is Nancy. Nancy whiskey, wherever I go. And ever since I heard Walt Conley do it that way, I've been singing it that way too, because you get an audience warmed up, hey, give them 20 seconds or so to sing. Don't cut them off after 5 seconds. So that's a little bit of a story behind that. Okay, if you ever go to any kind of ice skating competition, the judges are sitting up there, and you know there's something they're called compulsories. No matter how creative the ice skaters are, they have to do a certain number of maneuvers out there that are called compulsories to see if they're really ice skaters or not. Well, Irish music is kind of the same way. If you're going to sing in a pub, you may be the greatest songwriter in the world writing in the Celtic mode, but there's certain compulsory songs you have to do or they won't let you play in the pubs. And one of them, there's a bunch of them. The Wild Rover is one of them. The Whistling Gypsy Rover is another. And one of the most popular ones is called Whiskey in the Jar, sometimes called Gilgara Mountain. And there's a clapping part. You can try this at home, but you can remember. And the chorus goes, Wissaringum Durham Da, 1, 2, 3, 4. Whack full the Dario. 1, 2. Whack full the Dario. There's whiskey in the jar. Did you get that? There's 4 claps, 2 claps, and 1. I won't tutor you on it. I'll see if you can pick it up yourself. The song goes like this. It is a fun song. Everybody does it. Probably everybody else on this telecast or internet concert is going to do it too, but this is my version. As I was going over Gilgara Mountain, I met with Captain Farrell and his money he was counting. First I drew my pistol and then produced my rapier, saying, Stand and deliver, for I am your bold deceiver. Wissaringum a Durham Da. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whack for the Dario. 1, 2. Whack for the Dario. There's whiskey in the jar. I'll leave the counting and clapping to you from here on. He counted out his money, and it made a pretty penny. I took the money home, and I gave it to my Jenny. She smiled and she swore that she never would deceive me. But the devil take the women, 'cause they always lie so easy. Wissaringum a Durham a Da. Whack for the Dario, whack for the Dario. There's whiskey in the jar. Well, I went into my chambers for to take a slumber, dream of golden girls, and sure it was no wonder. Jenny took my charges and she filled them up with water, and then called for Captain Farrell to be ready for the slaughter. Wissaringum a Durham a Da. Whack for the dairy-o, whack for the dairy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. Well, I rose up so early in the morning for to travel, but the guards was all around me, and likewise Captain Farrell. I went for my pistols, but alas I was mistaken, for I could not shoot the water, and the prisoner I was taken. Whistle-ring-a-ma-dur-a-ma-da. Whack for the dairy-o, whack for the dairy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. Well, they threw me into jail without no judge nor writing for robbing Captain Farrell up on Gilgara Mountain. But they did not take my fist, so I knocked that jailer down, and I bid a fast farewell to old Sligo town. Whistle-ring-a-ma-dur-a-ma-da. Whack for the dairy-o, whack for the dairy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. Now if anyone can save me, it's me brother in the army, but I don't know where he's stationed, in Cork or in Killarney. But together we'd go roving through the mountains of Kilkenny, and I swear he'd treat me better than my darling sporting Jenny. Whistle-ring-a-ma-dur-a-ma-da. Whack for the dairy-o, whack for the dairy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. Well, some take delight in their carriages a-rolling, and others take delight in their football or their bowling. But I take delight in the juice of the barley, and in courting pretty maids in the morning, bright and early. Whistle-ring-a-ma-dur-a-ma-da. Whack for the dairy-o, whack for the dairy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. Whistle-ring-a-ma-dur-a-ma-da. Whack for the dairy-o, whack for the dairy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. It's a fine old song called Whiskey in a Jar. You figured that out by now. Let me set the guitar down. I'm going to get a sip of water instead of a sip of whiskey. But that leads to another story. I mentioned the spelling of whiskey varies in Scotland and Ireland, but the source of the word whiskey comes from the Gaelic, whisbithad, which is the water of life. The Irish and the Scots knew what they were talking about. Have a sip of H2O, and I'll change it for Jameson's later when I'm not driving. Let's see what else is on my list for today. Oh, I'll sing you another broken-hearted love song. The Irish say the sad love songs apparently are the best ones they have. And I'll tell you a little story. This is one of my favorite love songs. It's called Red is the Rose. It was my grandmother Agnes Supple's favorite song. And I'm used to singing this in front of appreciative audiences at the Galway Bay Irish Pub. And in between, I have a pint of Guinness, and I peruse over the menu. They feed me for free there. It's a nice thing. And oftentimes what I choose is shepherd's pie. I thought that the shepherd's pie at the Galway Bay Pub could not possibly be beat anywhere in the world. And I got better educated about that. For the last few months, I've been working in a little town called Malden, Washington. It burned down on September 7th. There's a wildfire that destroyed 80% of the homes in that town. And I've been working out there for the last 4 months, and there are no restaurants at all anywhere near Malden. The closest place is Colfax, where you can find a Zips Hamburgers or a Subway. So I was faced with the imminent prospect of starving while I was working in Malden. But there was a wonderful family that took me in, a gal named Nellie Flatt and her daughter Janelle Turner. And they're fine cooks, and they made me a deal. They said if I could come over to their house for dinner, if I'd sing them some songs around the dining room table. So I sang Red is the Rose, and they liked it. And they fed me shepherd's pie, and I liked it. This continued for some time to come, so I now have a Malden family, and I'm very appreciative of having a place to sing and some wonderful cooks who feed me. And Galway Bay Pub, you guys back in the kitchen, be aware, Nellie and Janelle can make an awesome shepherd's pie. If you can't beat them, you might want to hire them. While I'm on the subject of Malden and the fire that burned the town down on September 7th, it is not a joking matter. 80% of the homes were lost. If you have some money in your pocket and on this St. Patrick's Day, and you have a spot in your heart for people who could use some help, go Google Whitman County Fire Relief Donor Box. Go ahead and Google that. Whitman County Fire Relief donor box. And there's a button on there, and if you would like to donate some money to help with fire relief, because many of these folks were uninsured and they lost so many homes in Malden and Pine City. If you had that goodness in your heart, I would much appreciate it. And without further ado, here's the song Red as the Rose, Agnes O'Toole's favorite, and I've been singing it in Malden for a while now. Come over the hills, my bonny Irish lass. Come over the hills to your darling. You choose the road, love, and I'll take the vow. And I'll be your true love forever. This is the chorus. Red is the rose that in yonder garden grows, and fair is the lily of the valley. Clear is the water that flows from the Boyne, but my love is fairer than honey. It was down by Killarney's green woods that we strayed. The moon and the stars, they were shining, and the moon shone its rays on her locks of chestnut hair, and she swore she'd be my love forever. Red is the rose that in yonder garden grows, and fair is the lily of the valley. Clear is the water that flows from the Boyne, but my love is fairer than honey. Oh, it's not for the parting of my sweet sister Kate, and it's not for the grief of my mother. It is all for the loss of my bonny Irish lass, that my heart is breaking forever. Sing along in the last chorus. Red is the rose that in yonder garden grows, and fair is the lily of the valley. Clear is the water that flows from the Boyne, but my love is fairer than honey. Clear is the water that flows from the Boyne, but my love is fairer than honey. Thank you. That's called Red as the Rose. It was a favorite song, I mentioned this, of my Irish grandmother, Agnes O'Toole. She was born in County Mayo in 1886, emigrated to America as a very young girl, and she was my nanny. She was my daycare when I was young, and sang me a lot of Irish songs. And when I was 8 years old, she found out that a group called the Clancy Brothers and Tommy Makem were playing in town. They were going to be singing on Saturday night at the auditorium of the Catholic high school, and she told me that we were going to hear these guys. And I told Agnes, I don't want to go. And she looked at me like I was a stupid child, and she said, I didn't ask you if you wanted to go. I said, there's some fine Irish fellas named Clancy going to be singing at the Catholic high school auditorium, and we're going. She dragged me by the ear to hear the Clancy Brothers, and I've been singing those songs ever since. It was a magnificent gift she gave me long ago. Let's see, what else do we have here on the list? I have a couple of more songs I have to sing for you before I go. This one is a cappella. It is a sea shanty in the old days Oh, sorry about that, David. You can bump your microphone again. In the old days, they used to sing work songs while they were at sea, and although the sailors had instruments with them like fiddles and concertinas and things like that, they couldn't play them while they were working. You had to have one hand for the work, and then you hang onto the ship with one hand. They said one hand for the ship and one hand for yourself to make sure you didn't fall off the yardarm and die. So they sang their songs a cappella, which is a musical term that means without instrumental accompaniment. It's very important to know that term before you go out and sing in public. The first time that I was asked to sing a cappella, I thought that it meant without clothing. And for this reason, I can never perform in Omaha again. But now I know, so it means without instrumental accompaniment. Here's a fine old song bragging about a fast packet ship. A packet was a sailing ship that was remarkably fast. It was usually used for carrying the mail and other very important items back and forth on runs, say, between Liverpool and Boston or Liverpool and New York, so on and so forth. This ship was called the Dreadnought, and she was fast. There is a saucy flash packet of fame. She's bound for New York, and the Dreadnought's her name. Bound out past Strathlight, where the wild winds do blow. She's the Liverpool packet. Oh, Lord, let her go. Derry down, 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 Derry down. That's your part. Try it once. Derry down, 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 Derry down. Now sing that every time it comes up. The Dreadnought, she's lying in the River Mersey, waiting the Independence to tow her to sea. She sails to the westward where the wild winds do blow. All the way to New York, and the Dreadnought will go. Derry down, 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 Derry down. And now here sailing the Atlantic so wide, the high-rolling seas sweep along her black side, her sails tautly set for the Red Cross to show. She's the Liverpool packet, oh Lord, let her go. Derry down, 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 Derry down. And now we've arrived in New York once more, so come along, shipmates, and we'll go ashore with our wives and our sweethearts, so merry we'll be. We'll toast to the Dreadnought wherever she may be. Derry down, 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 Derry down. Here's a health to the Dreadnought and all her brave crew, to the bold Captain Gibbon and his officers too. You may talk of your harp, Swallowtail, her black ball. The Dreadnought's the flyer that can whip 'em all. Derry down, 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 Derry down. Derry down, 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 Derry down. And that's how you'd set the sails in the old days, or pump the ship, or things like that, with a cappella songs with a distinct rhythm like that. They were called sea shanties back in the day. Have another sip of water, and then I'll sing you a closing song that we can finish out with. It was a very old Irish song that Agnes, you remember Agnes, right? The grandmother from 2 songs ago? She's still my grandmother. Agnes had a love song that she loved to sing. And as a young man, I didn't care very much for it because I thought it was some kind of love song amongst a couple, between a man and a woman. And for some reason, one of them was going away for a while and the other was going to die all over it. The song was called Danny Boy, and I thought it was sappy when I was a kid. Then as I got older, I heard more versions of Danny Boy, and I learned the story behind it. And now I love the song. The story in Danny Boy is, back in the old days, the Irish had big families. They had many children, and they were generally quite poor. They went through a number of potato famines. And what is jokingly referred to sometimes in history as Irish Social Security was that the older children would go off to America or to England or somewhere to get jobs. You often send money home to Ireland. But the youngest child in the family was expected to stay behind with the parents and take care of the parents in their old age. Well, in this song, Danny Boy, the famines have hit Ireland. The older children are gone, and Danny Boy is the son. It's a song that a father is singing to his son, Danny. And times are so hard in Ireland now that Danny can't support the parents anymore. And he's done the only thing that he knows how to support the family with. Danny has enlisted in the British Army. in an Irish regiment in the British Army. It's an enlistment of 7 years, but he'll make money that he can send home to the parents. He'll be sent off to India or Pakistan or South Africa, Afghanistan, someplace like that. And when they talk about the pipes are calling, they're not talking about someone playing a love song on a pan flute. No, the pipes are calling are the war pipes of the regiment, which is coming down the road. It's time for Danny to go. And as he leaves on a 7-year enlistment, the father knows he'll never see Danny again. And once I learned what the song was all about, made all the difference in the world. Let me leave you with Danny Boy, and feel free to sing along. Oh, Danny Boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. Summer's gone and all the leaves are falling. 'Tis you must go and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when this valley's hushed and white with snow. 'Tis I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Danny boy, oh Danny boy, I love you so. When you return and summer's in the meadow, and I am dead, as dead I know I'll be, just come and find the place where I am lying, and kneel and say one Ave over me. And I shall hear, though soft, you tread above me, and all my dreams will warmer, sweeter be. If you'll not fail to tell me that you love me, then I shall sleep in peace until you come to me. Oh, Danny boy, I love you so. Well, that's Danny Boy, and my time is up. My name is Hank Cramer. I'm a traveling folk singer from a little town called Winthrop, Washington. I've been singing at the Galway Bay Irish Pub in Ocean Shores for 28 years now, and I hope that you establish a long-term relationship like that with the pub as well. There's some wonderful staff there, wonderful food, wonderful beverages. We'll be back to live music again soon. I hope to be out there for some weekends this summer like I've done in years past. If it doesn't happen that quickly, well, stay tuned for the Irish Festival, the Celtic Feis, that's a Gaelic word for festival. The Celtic Feis, they call it, F-E-I-S. That'll be in October this year. Expect about 35 bands from all over North America and Ireland and Scotland to be there in October. And come on out and pay us a visit. Meanwhile, if you want to visit me, Cramer spelled with a C, go to hankcramer.com. Once again, that's hankcramer.com, hankcramer.com. And you can find out where I'm going to be singing. You can order CDs over the internet. You can search for me on Amazon or Google Tunes or iTunes or any of those things. You can download my music off the internet. And last but not least, don't forget, I've been working at a wonderful little town of wonderful people who lost 80% of their homes in September in the wildfire. And if you'd like to help them out, it's Whitman County Fire Relief Donor Box. One more time, put that in your Google window, Whitman County Fire Relief Donor Box. Help those people out until I see you next time. Many thanks to David Lang and Benjamin Lang for filming this. Hey, we'll see you guys again soon. Thank you so much for listening.